Arsenal away to Manchester United is one of the biggest games of Arsenal's season. Every single time we go there, it's a battle. And in my opinion, it's one of the most likely games in which we could see Arsenal finally, maybe, possibly, end that horrific run away to one of England's big six sides. Hello, welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our Raw Reaction preview series, show in which we react to the latest Arsenal news, and in this show specifically look ahead to the next Arsenal fixture, which, as I've mentioned, is Manchester United at Old Trafford, an area where we have enjoyed 0 losses since, I believe, 2006. It was a wonderful game, but unfortunately we've been waiting nearly 15 years for that to come around again. So it's imperative that Arsenal pick up something from this game, be it a draw, be it a win. It needs to be a win, in my opinion, especially considering that we lost against Leicester. We have to get something from this game. So that's where it kind of leaves us at the moment, is thinking about what we're going to do. We're going to have a look at the lineups that I've predicted for both Arteta and how I would like to see this lineup, and they differ wildly, but so we'll have a wait and see. First of all, I should mention that I was joining some guys over on Twitter yesterday to do a Manchester United preview. I've retweeted it on my page if you want to go and check out on the Man United half of things. It was a lot of fun. It was a good banter, so please make sure you go and check it out. But other than that, yeah, it's as Joseph Maseko says there, it's a win at all costs. Evening in the chat box. I see all of you, and it's good to have you here. But I think what's probably best is if we go straight in to the predicted lineups, or how I personally feel we should line up first of all. So this is how I feel that we should go. Feel free to disagree and agree all you like, and leave your comments in the description below as to what you think you would change in this game. So we're going with Leno, Bellerin, Mustafi, Gabriel, Tierney in a back four. A back four is the biggest thing about this one for me. Arsenal playing against big six sides away from home have typically gone with more of their 3-4-3 setup, and we saw against both Manchester City and Liverpool that it can be a formation in which we are competitive in. Now, I understand that. I understand that it's important to remain competitive throughout the game. However, I feel that the way in which we are playing at the moment, which is quite passively, quite defensively, we're not creating too many chances, and the chances that we do create, we are not taking. You saw that in the Leicester game, you saw that in the Liverpool game, you saw that in the Manchester City game. The chances, the few ones that we did create, we aren't being clinical enough. And for that reason, we need, in my opinion, to attack United. Both of our sides, United side and Arsenal's, have got defensive frailties. We know that. Maguire and Lindelof can be got at. I also expect Tuanzebe to possibly play for the Red Devils as well. Young, inexperienced, but did exceptionally well, it's fair to say, against PSG's Neymar and Kylian Mbappe. So there's some challenges that Arsenal needs to overcome, and I feel that we need to do that with a more attacking lineup. This is the biggest game for Partey so far. I'm really kind of interested to see how the Ghanaian affects this game. These are the types of games that I have preached that he will make a big difference in. Now, he can only make a difference if we give him the ball. That is something that we didn't do against Leicester. We didn't give Thomas Partey the ball enough on a regular occasion. In fact, it was pretty stupid how little we gave Thomas Partey the ball. And it's got now to the point where I'm struggling to understand why the tactics are employed in certain ways. But the thing about Partey is that he can be a game changer. He can drag the ball from the defensive half into the opposition half. He can beat the press, can beat the lines, can be a bruiser at the back whilst maintaining intelligent play. And next to Xhaka, I think that we've got that security there to be able to do it. I know that you guys think that I praise Xhaka a hell of a lot, and I do. But I also think that there is certainly a lot of credence to what I say in terms of Xhaka, and I think that can be easily overlooked. Playing Saka at 10. Saka for me behind Mesut Ozil. He's got his first mention in the show and probably his last. Saka is our most creative player in the team right now. He had the most assists last season, and hopefully he's able to push on. I just feel that Saka is going to be able to have that influence on the team in breaking the lines, in taking the ball forwards, finding the passes. And I feel that Saka at 10 is a real option. That's something that we've not necessarily tried yet. Now, the front three is Willian, Aubameyang and Pepe. Lacazette could play as a false nine here. Aubameyang does risk being isolated in these big games, but I just feel that we need to play him through the middle, in my opinion. We need to be playing him there to get the most out of him, to be a poacher in the box. And Willian and Pepe on either flank. Pepe on the left-hand side is interesting. It's something that I know that a lot of people maybe will disagree with. What I will say is that when Pepe's playing on the right at the moment, he's becoming exceptionally predictable. A defender knows to show him on his outside, and if he shows him on the inside, usually they're winning the ball away from him. And playing him on the left means that you've got the option to make Pepe a lot more unpredictable. This goal that he scored, of course, against Dundalk, whilst I'm well aware that it was Dundalk, was done from that playing on that left-hand side. So I am interested to see if this is something that could be brought along. You've also got the option that you've got a left footer on the left-hand side and a right footer in Willian on the right-hand side, meaning that you're not playing inverted, meaning that these wingers can go to the byline and they can cut the ball back for Aubameyang to poach chances when they are made. It is certainly something that I feel that can be done, and I feel that also Pepe may benefit from playing on the left to combine with Tierney, something that I thought that Pepe dealing with Bellerin on the right-hand side, it wasn't as good. Bellerin's balls in behind are nowhere near as effective as what Tierney's are, and if Pepe can use his pace to get in behind, that is certainly going to be a weapon that we can use. There is a counter-argument, is that Pepe playing on the right would be up against Luke Shaw in comparison to playing against a very good one-on-one defender in Aaron Wan-Bissaka, very pacey and very consistent. So if it doesn't work out, there is, of course, scope for those two players. A tricky timing since coming in, of course, from the Fulham game where he had a really good debut, but ultimately has kind of failed to deceive at times, and that means that there is a lot of pressure on him. Whilst Iron Cub, you say, Willian on the right is also predictable in my opinion. It only does his shoulder drop thingy, and I think I'd rather have Pepe up against Shaw. And I think that there's scope, Iron, as I said, to swap them over during the game. If you have to be in game, you have to be thinking on your toes, and Arteta needs to have the guile to turn around and say, look, it's not working, guys. I want you to swap over. So that's certainly something that we can do. And playing on the left for Pepe, I think, is certainly something that is maybe something that we've not really utilised enough. Now, that's how I think we should set up. Now, this is how I think Arteta is actually going to go with things. Leno, Mustafi, Gabriel, Tierney in a back three. I just feel that he's going to go for the back three in this game. He knows it's had success away from home in other games. It worked against Liverpool in the home leg. It worked against them. Kind of course, we went 1-0 down and we're very fortunate to get back into the game. It worked really, really well against Man City and Chelsea away games, Liverpool in the league, and it didn't really work in the away game to Manchester City either. We created very few chances, and the chances that we did create, we didn't take them, and that is a big problem for Arsenal right now, is taking chances. I also know that Arteta is a big fan of having someone who can hold the ball up in the centre of the park. Now, Aubameyang, I love him to bits, but Aubameyang can't hold the ball up. That's not part of his play. He's a player that runs in behind. He's a guy that poaches goals in the box. He's not a guy that holds play up. And Arteta likes to have someone that can do that. I mean, if only we'd kept Olivier Giroud at the club for a little bit longer, maybe he'd have that perfect striker. But Lacazette can hold the ball up a lot more than what Aubameyang can, a hell of a lot more. But in terms of his efficiency and his clinicalness, that's where Lacazette kind of has dropped down, even though he is, ironically, our top scorer this season. And I think that goes to show something. Bellerin and Mainsley playing on those wide areas is something that we know has been successful in the past, and Tierney and Gabriel have been consistent all season. Mustafi is the weak point. Mustafi I am concerned about. Mustafi has to play because the only other alternative is Mustafi. Throw in a very unfit Callum Chambers after returning from an ACL injury, or you throw in William Saliba, who is very inexperienced and has shown in training not to have done enough to convince the likes of Arteta and his coaching staff to have played him in a Premier League game sooner. Do you throw him into this game now? It's a big risk. But Mustafi, arguably, is an even bigger one. So I'd love you to let me know what you think in the chat box about what we should do with those centre-back pairings, because it's a really interesting one. Mustafi, Luiz not being fit is a big blow for us. And who would have thought we'd been saying that a long time ago? David Luiz not being in the team, being a big blow, is huge for Arsenal right now. In the middle of the park, though, Xhaka and Partey being a combination playing in this formation. Partey is not featured in this formation as of yet, and so it might be interesting to see how he does cope as a midfielder. He would be given the emphasis to drive the ball forward and be more creative than he usually would, playing in sort of a pivot role as a number 6. In this role here, becomes more of a number 8, which would be quite interesting to see how it works. He could be paired with Ceballos, he could be paired with El Neni. It is really unsure to see what we're going to do. This has been by far the hardest game to predict what lineup Arteta might go for. So I'd love to get some of your comments on what you think about this in The chat box. So Christopher Fung says, if we play a team without good defensive structure, Pepe would be a good shout. Nico says, Arteta would have made Giroud a £40 million striker. Patrick Carlson says, Pepe should start for him. Omar says, Alba starts up top. Iron Cub says, Mustafi was decent before his injury. He was decent, and I always praise that fact that Arteta had a massive role in turning him around. However, if you think back to the North London derby when he had an absolute mare and arguably cost us the game towards the end of that, then he's always going to Mustafi's going to Mustafi. That's what we know. Mustafi is going to Mustafi at some point, and that is going to let us down ultimately. Patrick says, did we play Xhaka as centre-back in a 3? I mean, if you do that, he has to play on the left-hand side, which means you're putting Tierney as the left wing-back, which I think can work, but I'm not sure that there's a point in wasting Xhaka in that back 3. And I didn't like it when he was doing it against Leicester. He was dropping into that back 3 a lot. And for me, it didn't really work. Christopher Fung says, what are the chances that Mustafi concedes a penalty? We're playing Manchester United, Chris. There's a chance that anyone can concede a penalty in this game. That's the stage that we're at the moment. Rob Hoops says, Bruno penalty bingo, 40th minute. That is what is going to happen. Paul Gaia says, we need to see the wingers playing closer to our striker. They've been playing so far from the goal and they offer no threat. The fullbacks end up in dangerous positions, which doesn't make sense to him. Senki says Nelson for Willian is what he's choosing for, which is an interesting choice. Christopher Fung says would love to see Nelson start, but we know it won't happen. Iron Cub says El Neni is about to start out of absolutely nowhere, which actually, to be fair, it wouldn't surprise me. It really wouldn't. Omar says, Tom, if Alba starts on the left, we are losing this one. He'll be marked out of the game and we will have no goal threat. I tend to agree with you, Omar. I think that in this game that you don't want to play Aubameyang against Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I think you want to put him on Maguire and you want to put him on Lindelof or Tuanzebe. You want to put him on those guys and getting him running in behind and really making a nightmare for those guys as much as possible. The thing is that Man United are going to attack us. We know that. They're going to have the emphasis. They've just beaten RB Leipzig 5-0 in a very commanding display. We've got the benefit of knowing that Anthony Martial is going to be suspended. He's not going to be playing this game. But it ultimately means you're going to see most likely a front 3 of maybe Dan James, maybe Rashford up top, and maybe then Greenwood on the other side. You've also got the possibility of seeing the midfield diamond that they deployed against RB Leipzig, in which we might see Pogba and Matic and, of course, Bruno Fernandes come in alongside McTominay. And then you've got the options to play Mason Greenwood and Marcus Rashford as a front 2 up top, which against a back 3 would be quite interesting. They worked exceptionally well against RB Leipzig's back 3, and maybe Arteta will have a look at that and analyse that game and think, well, if they're going to play a similar system against us, thinking we're going to go for a back 3, maybe we should go for the back 4 and then try and win the midfield battle with a lot more combative style of play. It's going to be interesting. As I said on the preview show, talking to the Man United guys, it is a really intriguing bout, and to try and work out tactically how both teams are going to approach it. United don't want to lose this. That's a big one for them. Losing this game is catastrophic for their season, as it would be any Big Six side playing at home against Arsenal. Being the side that ends Arsenal's horrible streak is a big, big issue if that happens to you. But they ultimately will think that this is very, very winnable game for them, and so they will attack. And hopefully, unlike Leicester, of course, that will leave spaces in behind for the likes of Aubameyang and Pepe or Willian or whoever, or Saka gets in behind. And I think this is also a game that Partey can have a much, much bigger impact on. The issue is that we got to give the bloody Ghanaian the ball. That's the problem, is we got to give him the ball. If we don't give him the ball, he's not going to have any impact on this game. And that's the problem that we had against Leicester. Even though I felt that game wasn't typically suited to a player of his style, I still think that if we'd have given him the ball, we may have been a lot more successful. And that's one of the biggest problems. Jared Cover says, United losing, they would only have 7 points through 6 games. That would be an absolute madness, which I tend to agree with you, Jared. Iron Cub says, counting down the days until Martinelli returns, which is insane because he's only 19 years old. Marie, sorry. Please tell me how I pronounce your name. We can beat Man United, he says. Let's go Arsenal. Darren Clifford says, at least 1 pen and a red a la Mike Dean. Yeah. To be fair, though, Man United fans would be saying a very similar thing. They're not huge fans of Mike Dean either. Jimmy King, smash a like on the video, guys. Thank you so much for your support, Jimmy. I'd appreciate it if you follow Jimmy's instructions. Really would. Femi says, Arsenal to win 3-1. Just have a feeling. Let's get your predictions into the live chat then. How do we think Arsenal are going to step up in this game? Now, I predicted on the Man United side of things that I thought we were going to win 2-1. But what I did say is that the early goal in this game is massive. If Man United score early, Arsenal have to come out and attack, and I think that United will punish us. If we score early, then it's a very similar story for us. Whoever scores the early goal in this game, I think, wins it. I don't see comebacks. I don't see turnarounds. I don't see any of that happening in this game. I think whoever scores first wins this game and wins it fairly comfortably, especially from the Man United point of view. If Arsenal can get an early goal in this game, that is the biggest key for us to win. If it's 0-0 going into half-time, I still feel like we'll struggle. If it ends up being sort of really kind of late and it's drawing, I think it will suit Arsenal more. But whoever scores the early goal, it is big. Like the biggest early goal you would have seen for Arsenal or Man United so far this season. That is the biggest problem with this game. So let's get some of your thoughts about price predictions. Scoreline predictions. Chris says 1-1. Jared 1-1. Iron Cub 2-1 loss. Omar 2-1 United. Senki 1-0 for the Arsenal. Nico says 2-2. Top Techers says 2-0. Mangui, I'm sorry, mate, I can't pronounce your name. Mwangi, I'm going to go for 2-0 United, and you've told me about 10 times, so you can stop now. Ollie says Ollie won't allow us to counter. He says Colorado Guna says 2-0 Arsenal. Yonic Max says 4-2. Matthew De Souza says Man United 2, Arsenal 0. Paul Gaia says 1-1. Patrick Carlson says 4-2. Joseph says 2-0 United. Manoj says 1-0 with a Willian goal. Owen from the Gruner Kak. That's a new name at the Gruner. 1 win. And 18M, which I believe is, Karthik says 1-0 goal. Early one from Pepe. And Chanda S says 2-1. If there is an early goal, I don't believe it will finish 1-0. I doubt it will finish 1-0. Both sides will not be able to hold on to a lead, in my opinion, for that long. And I think there will be spaces opened up that it could end up being 1, 2, 3, 4 if a team scores early. An early goal is huge in this match. It really is. It can't be understated how important that early goal will be in this game. A couple of things before we wrap up. Please make sure you go on to the Guna Talk Twitter account, because I had an interview with former Arsenal striker Alan Smith out on 101 Great Goals today. So please make sure you check that out. Alan gave us all the insight about how he feels about Arteta, how he feels about Partey, Pepe, Aubameyang, Martinelli, all of the like, William Saliba. So please make sure you give that a look. And also, if I haven't plugged it already, Modern Footballer Magazine, fantastic piece of content that you should be getting involved with. The amount of content in this magazine is crazy. It's not sponsored. I don't get paid for it, but I have featured inside of it, and I have given my thoughts on Marco Asensio in it. So please make sure you give it a look. It's not just the only one that's out. They've done a few of these, Modern Footballer Magazine. It's a really, really good load of content. Loads of content for you guys to check out. Fantastic stuff. Really appreciate the time you spent listening to me this evening. Sorry that this one's so late. As you can see, I am slightly dressed up because it is my, believe it or not, 8-year anniversary with the other half tomorrow. But we can't celebrate tomorrow. I wonder why. You see, that's when you know you're in a great relationship, when you can't actually, that she's accepting that we can't celebrate an 8-year anniversary because what's happened? There's an Arsenal game on against Man United. So we moved it to today. I'm bad. I'm really bad. But thank you so much for watching, people. I will see you again very, very soon. And as always, up the Arsenal.